Happy Thanksgiving. We hope that you feel welcome today, and we are grateful that you have come just as you are, in your thanksgiving or your anxiety, in your identity, sexuality, fluidity, in your wealth or poverty, in your physical or mental health or challenges to them, whatever your race or background, welcome. Our gathering today pivots around what we call communion. We try to focus on our sense of the presence of the Creator and Holy One, who invites us to a table laden with reminders of Jesus, whose disciples, and we are on a journey to learn his ways, we seek to be. It is a table to which all are invited. You don't have to understand everything or profess much, other than that you believe we all are welcome here as a place of nourishment on our journey.
The heavens herald your glory, O God, and the skies display your handiwork. Day after day they tell their story, and night after night they reveal the depth of their understanding. Without speech, without words, without even an audible voice, their cry echoes through all the world, and their message reaches the ends of the earth. For in the heavens, the sun has pitched a tent. It comes forth with the grandeur of a wedding procession, with the eagerness of an athlete ready to race. It rises at one end of the sky and travels to the other end, and nothing escapes its warmth. Your law, Yahweh, is perfect. It refreshes the soul. Your rule is to be trusted. It gives wisdom to the naive. Your purposes, O God, are right. They gladden the heart. Your command is clear. It gives light to the eyes. Holding you in awe, Yahweh, is purifying. It endures. Your decrees are steadfast, and all of them just. They are more precious than gold, than the purest of gold, and sweeter than honey fresh from the comb. In them your faithful people find instruction. There is great reward in keeping them. But who can detect one's own failings? Forgive the misdeeds I don't even know about. Keep your faithful one from presumption as well, so that my faults never control me. Then I will be blameless and innocent of grave error. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer.
Then God spoke all these words and said, I am Yahweh, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Do not worship any gods except me. Do not make for yourselves any carved image or likeness of anything in heaven, above, or on the earth, beneath, or in the waters under the earth, and do not bow down to them or serve them, for I, Yahweh, am a jealous God. And for the parents' fault I punish the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren of those who turn from me. But I show kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and heed my commandments. Do not utter the name of Yahweh to misuse it. For Yahweh will not acquit anyone who utters God's name to misuse it. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. For 6 days you will labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath for Yahweh. Do no work on that day. Neither you, nor your daughter, nor your son, nor your workers, women or men, nor your animals, nor the foreigner who lives among you. For in the 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that they hold, but rested on the seventh day. And this is why Yahweh has blessed the Sabbath day and made it sacred. Honor your mother and your father, so that you may have a long life in the land that Yahweh has given to you. No murdering, no adultery, no stealing, no giving false testimony against your neighbor, no desiring your neighbor's house, no desiring your neighbor's spouse, or worker, female or male, or ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. This is from the story of the Exodus, chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. What are we supposed to do now? If your origin story is that of a large, ragtag group of people who have dim memory of greatness and then descended into slavery, and then had this miraculous midnight escape from slavery, only to find yourself wandering in the wilderness, living day to day, looking for water and waiting for your next meal, what are we supposed to do now? The next step may be for you to figure out a way to get along with each other before the competition for apparently scarce resources causes strife. How about we have 10 commandments, rules for how to get along with each other in a fractious, anxious society? Now, it's no leap for us to describe life in the 21st century as fractious, with anxious competition for scarce resources. And that's why it's not that hard for us to take to heart those Exodus wanderers and how they tried to build community by noticing that they did not make this trek on their own and figured out how to make sure it was orderly, safe, life-giving. So like them, we lean in. We listen for the Spirit. We listen for the voices of each other to find out what to do. And then we try to do the right thing, or not do the wrong thing. The rules for the right thing haven't changed much. God, so the account goes, told the people to look at their newfound freedom and then told them, take it or leave it. This is the prelude to Exodus chapter 20. Take it or leave it. You are not bound by this. You can choose to not make the deal. You know the way back to Egypt, or you can just find your way through the wilderness if that's what you like. But if we're going to do this together, here are my rules. And people say to each other, here are our rules. Beginning with, figure out who gets the best, or what gets the best, of your time and intellect. For that is worship. Now, it's an odd term in a post-religious institutional society. We use it to describe what we do here on Sundays without always considering what it means every other day. We all worship. We all give the best of our time and our intellect to something. And Jesus' problem, his big problem with people, was not their sin, was not who they had a relationship with, was not whether or not they would get into heaven. His ongoing concern was that most of us worship well, in some form. And he has more to say about that than anything else the church chose to record in its stories about him. What gets the best of your time and energy? Does it go into ensuring your financial future? Or your sense of satisfaction? Or does it go into your journey as a spiritual person to become human? Don't misrepresent me. The next one. And if we think that one doesn't have a whole lot of meaning, then here's this. There would be a few more people who had a little bit more respect for Christianity as a way of life if so many of us hadn't represented our selfish values as being God's. We'd have more credibility if we used our organized religion, or we stopped using our organized religion to make people in our own image. Take time off. Respect your elders. Revere them. Don't take anyone else's life or property or dignity, and don't mess up their family. Learn contentment and gratitude. You and everyone around you will be the better for it. And that last one may be the key to life in community for an overly simplistic reason. When we are less anxious or wiser, or we have learned to make peace with each day, we need less. We're more grateful for what we have. And when we're put upon, we want to build walls and protect what we have and store up more. But again, the continuum, we all have our weak moments. We all have things that make us feel more secure. I may have been heard in the past to scoff at people who bought Costco out of toilet paper and been, a little judgy about that. But I might be accused correctly of believing I need more cycling gear. Fresh pair of socks, more nutrients, something else for the bike. We know what greed will do to us. And like manna in the wilderness saved more than a day, it starts to rot, and we can too. And we may not notice. Mary Rowe of the Canadian Urban Institute called the COVID-19 pandemic a particle accelerator. It made us do things differently in a short period of time. It forced us to look after the homeless, pour needed money into home health care, take a hard look at long-term care facilities, put money into temporary guaranteed basic income. And it also made wealthy people more so, particularly if they owned a delivery service or grocery chain. I still haven't heard that they're sharing their increased profits with anyone, except shareholders. But you can't make anyone, whether a fearful business person or a president, more content. All you can do is lead by example. From in the midst of all these people, anxious and not, with your neighbors, you can lead by example. You can show them what a less anxious life looks like. And you can help care for them to ease their own anxiety. See, if you're grateful and you're reasonably content, you will create new realities. You will care for others. Because you will look at other people and say, I really wish things were better for them. So here's what I'm going to do. And when you do that, people will see you as a person of faith and faithfulness to your vision, and maybe even the vision of Jesus. You won't be afraid to rest and recreate. You'll have time to listen to your elders with respect. You won't need what somebody else has, and you'll want to share what you have. You won't be afraid of the truth, and you won't be afraid to tell it. See, the commandments are a summary of what we're tempted to do when we feel inadequate and anxious and feel like we need more. They're a summary of what happens if we dwell in our security, and that's why mostly they say, "Thou shalt not," or "Don't do that." Because the implication is, you're better than this. For Jesus, those rules were summarized as loving yourself and God and your neighbor. And just about everybody who has a faith tradition understands words along the lines of, do unto others what you would have them do to you. I read a couple of months ago an article about what the early church was like that I was not aware of. For the first 300 years or so, you became a bishop because you were good at making sure that wealth was redistributed. Your job as the head of the church was to make sure that people gave to the church so that you could look after the poor, the impoverished, the widows and orphans in your community. For 300 years, give or take. That was the bishop's job. That was the church's job. Caring for people in community. Constantine made it a little more difficult, but he had the help of wealthy people in the neighborhoods around those churches and cathedrals, because what happened then was people started to go to the bishop and say, "Yes, I will give you money to look after the poor. And by the way, can my family put up a mausoleum close to the church? We'll pay for it." And so the church started to become a place where people set up monuments to their wealth and success. And we shifted away from those first 300 years where the leaders said, let's look after each other in this community. And let's be thankful that we get to do it. I will tell you that for me, this is kind of like a kitchen table. One that you will, I hope, have a moment to be with people who love you this weekend. It's the place where the conversations happen. It's the place where sometimes the arguments happen. It's the place where the discussions happen about whether the pie is being made just right, or the turkey's got enough stuffing in it, or it's the time where you talk about your family stories. And in this case, this celebration is an echo of when people had to gather up their belongings quickly, just before that Exodus, and make sure they had exactly what they needed and no more and no less, and leave with barely enough bread and wine. And then Jesus with his disciples are celebrating that meal. And they've eaten together, and they've retold the story of their history. As our accounts go, it was probably a little more serious than a normal family meal because Jesus' mood was very focused on what was good, what was not good that was about to come sooner or later. And so this meal, as well as being a family one, also takes on a somberness, a seriousness, as we begin to talk about and understand sacrificial love. But after the silence, which probably lasted too long, Jesus again took bread and gave thanks to the Holy One and broke it. One whole loaf to be shared with others, to help them understand they were in this together. And said, take, eat. And when you eat this, remember this moment, remember me. Remember my willingness to be broken for you. And in the same way, he took a cup. And said to them, this is the new way. You have lived with a covenant of obedience and rules. This new covenant is about who you are inside and who you will become as you begin to understand what sacrifice means, loving sacrifice means to you and for you, and as you make that sacrifice for others. This is the new covenant. We are invited, we are welcome, as I said at the beginning, to come to this table. It doesn't matter how much you understand or how deep your theology is or what your feeling is in this day. If you have even a moment of gratitude for being nourished and being part of something new that is life-giving for you and others, then you are welcome here. Once again, I invite you to quiet your hearts as we give thanks for what is before us. Blessed be you, O Creator of the heavens and the earth, who has given us the bread of life that springs forth from the land. Blessed be you, O Creator of heaven and earth, who has given us the fruit of the vine to celebrate, to come to each day with gratitude. Blessed are you for all of your good gifts to us. And this day for this bread and this cup, which we are given in the name of the Christ. Amen.